Yeah. So what I think people miss, and I talked a lot about this in 2017 when we had our first mania, is that crypto was really the first ever global speculative mania. We never had a global market. You had a couple stocks that were traded globally, but if you go back and you look at the 99 internet bubble, like you didn't have anyone in Korea participating, anyone in India participating, anyone in Russia participating, anyone in Africa participating. Crypto is global.
In this interview with billionaire investor and CEO of Galaxy Digital, Mike Novogratz, he discusses cryptocurrency and the end of the global economy. Mike begins by talking about the recent events that have brought us to where we are. In doing so, he provides an uncommon insight into the happenings in the White House and federal spending that are responsible for the current state of the economy and reduced inflation. He provides a unique but highly researched and thoughtful explanation for the increase in value for assets and asset baskets like the S&P 500. He then pivots to explain why everything leads back to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. Let's dive right in.
When Donald Trump took office, he increased federal spending an immense amount. One of the largest increases in history. We went from $3 trillion to $3.9 trillion of federal spending. And then COVID happened and he put his foot on the gas. And then Biden came in, he said, hey, it's my party too. And between those two presidents, who I think will go down as the two worst presidents in fiscal history, we've taken federal spending as a percentage of GDP from 20% to 25%. And we've normalized it at 25%, right? Next year's budget is 25%. The following year's budget is 25%. I worked at the White House in 1984. I was a GS4 working for David Stockman. Tells how fucking old I am. And I learned real quickly, federal government gets to spend 20%. And we try to tax 20, we normally don't. We did in 1999, Bill Clinton, shout out. But broadly, those are the rules. And they changed the rules. And so since you've been investing, since I've been investing, our models of how the economy works, our algorithmic models that are intuitive, and the models that the economists use were based on a 20% federal spending. And so I think happened is when you give people that much extra cash, government spending is a lot less sensitive to interest rates than non-government spending. Right? Once you decide you're going to build infrastructure, you don't care what the interest rates are. Someone else is paying for it. And so I think we've all underestimated the power of all that money.
Now Mike jumps ahead to explain what he thinks will be the result of all this spending and his opinion of our economy breaking out of it.
And so now if you look with 5%, 6%, 7% rates, as you start funding the deficit, originally it doesn't feel like it hurts so much because the way they account for it is what's your average coupon of government. And we went so many years issuing under 1% coupons. As those roll off and you replace them with 5 and 6% coupons, we're going to have $1 trillion in debt service. Again, $1 trillion is roughly 4% of GDP. That used to be the max deficit we were allowed to run. Right. It's just debt service. And so at one point it crowds out or you debase your currency. And so one reason I love gold, I still love silver, even though it kicked me in the teeth in the last few weeks. I still love Bitcoin, is the proxies of hard assets. It's why equities outperform, right? When you're debasing your currency, assets go higher. And so I don't see how we get out of this trap.
So far, Mike has explained why inflation has come down, a massive growth in government spending. Mike also explained that this sort of spending on its own is not bad or inherently dangerous, except when the government is taking on debt to finance it, as is the case now. Worse yet, Mike doesn't believe we're ever going to make it as a nation, and that the US and all other seemingly safe economies will all share the same fate as the failed third world countries like Argentina, Turkey, and Venezuela. The good news is that he highlights two potential solutions for individuals: gold and crypto. Let's listen to more of the interview and see why Mike thinks Bitcoin is superior to gold.
When I think of Bitcoin and gold, I think of them basically very similar bets. There's a macro backdrop and there's an adoption backdrop, right? So in Bitcoin, why it's so exciting, and I have a lot more Bitcoin than I do gold, certainly vol adjusted, I have 10 times as much. It's such a new asset, and it's like a virus that's just starting to spread, right? The fact that Larry Fink got orange pilled and believes in it is the single biggest thing that happened for it this year, just because he has such clout. BlackRock touches so many places, right? We're going to compete against them in the ETF, but think about it now. We've got Invesco with us, BlackRock, WisdomTree, Fidelity. Pretty soon you're going to have 9 sales forces selling the Bitcoin story. So the adoption of this idea that Bitcoin is a store of value is going straight up.
Now Mike explains why he thinks Bitcoin will perform so well. Finally, Mike gives a summary of his thoughts on Bitcoin.
I would argue that Bitcoin, which is $1 trillion asset after 14 years, might be the single greatest brand ever created. Right? We created Tesla's close and Apple's up there. We created in 14 years, $1 trillion brand that doesn't have a CEO, that's owned by no one, that's universally known. It's, it's marketing genius. And if you look at Apple from its 14th year to its 30th year, I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin takes a bigger trajectory.
In this interview, Mike Novogratz has given chilling predictions for the global economy. He stated that he expects that all economies will eventually crumble, and that's why he's bullish on cryptocurrency. Mike later explains that aside from being an amazing asset, cryptocurrency, or what he terms Satoshi's revolution, is also unparalleled innovation, and that he's only disappointed that it hasn't matured yet. However, he believes long-term that blockchains will change the course of history. Blockchain adoption is already skyrocketing, and with the recently approved Bitcoin spot ETFs, we might be just at the beginning of Bitcoin going parabolic. To see the latest in crypto news, watch this video here.